My name is Jesse Cubuyadao. I'm a Tuhon and Pikiti Tirsia. Yeah, I was born in the Philippines in a little town called Sanchez Mira, and that is the Cagayan Valley. But it was a small town. We weren't very rich, like nobody was, right? My father worked in a slaughterhouse, so we had meats, and stuff like that. But it was a tough life, from what I remember. And then moving from there to a bigger area in Manila, different culture basically, because it's a completely different culture. From Cagayan Valley to Manila, it's a completely different culture. Growing up, as a young Filipino boy, you were out in the streets a lot. You have to fend for yourself. My father was actually the first one that actually started teaching me how to fight, because I was small, thin, and I used to get my ass whooped every time. So my father, if you're gonna be out there playing around, you need to learn how to defend yourself. So I had to learn how to grow up quickly and defend myself. And from Manila, my father migrated over to the United States in Hawaii. And so myself, my mom, and my sister stayed in Manila for quite a while before we got, sponsored to come over. So early 70s when we finally migrated over to Hawaii, and I stayed there right before high school. It was tough growing up in Hawaii. You're really not a native-born Hawaiian, so you get a lot of those pushback, but it was tough growing up, moving around in Hawaii. Not a whole lot of jobs, but my father had the opportunity to migrate over to Chicago for a new beginning and a new job, and we moved from Hawaii to Chicago, south side of Chicago. Both my mom and my dad worked, so I was left to fend for myself between school, traveling, and so forth. So yeah, it was definitely a cultural shock for both Hawaii and Chicago. I just know that they were very good fighters. The heart of Filipino is where it's at. They're courageous. They're a bit crazy, right? So that kind of gives them the edge when it comes down to a fight, because a fight is not fair. So they have that little craziness and then the physical attributes to be able to move and dodge knives and bob and weave and punch and kick. They had those skills. Now, whether it was actual Filipino martial arts, I'm not sure. They certainly did know how to punch and fight. And they, from what I've seen, that my dad was known as the bad guy of the town. I mean, he was kind of like a bodyguard and so forth for dignitaries back in Cagayan. He was the guy, right? And same thing when we went to Manila. He was the guy, and people feared him because of his known skills and his temperament. You can tell his hands were huge and looked like he was punching a lot of stuff. And he was very strong. Maybe because working at the slaughterhouse, chopping up all those animals, but he was very skilled with the knife. Same thing with my uncles, They were known as like, yeah, they can fight, so don't mess with that clan, right? Yeah, I don't know if they actually formally trained. We didn't have like punching bags or sticks or anything like that in the house. It was just them showing me how to punch, how to kick, and how to be tough. That's kind of my first introduction into formal training, but that was not like a formal school or anything like that, or there's no system, or there's no Cabuyadao system that's out there, right? So just training to survive out in the streets. So I did a couple of years in college, did all that, but I was still like a little wayward child, right? I was still trying to find my way. I went to UIC, pre-med. I was happy to get accepted and all that, but I don't know, something inside me just didn't fit, in school. So after a couple of years of college, I decided to join the Navy. That's where the other journey begins. I did a full career in the United States Navy. So I was a hospital corpsman, which is basically your medical guy. And I went all over the world, many different conflicts throughout my career. That's where the journey of martial arts and all that happened, basically, or fighting, basically. Shooting, hand-to-hand combat, the Navy, and I should say the Marine Corps, because I spent a lot of my time with the Marines. And the Marine Corps teaches you, the different fighting stuff. They teach you knife fighting, they teach you ground pounding, they teach you what we call back then the line training. They teach you how to punch, kick, throw people around. So FMA was not my first art. So a lot of the kids back in Hawaii, my friends would go to martial arts school. It was karate, judo. And I would go and watch them, and I always wished that we could afford, sending me to school, but I was never ever enrolled because we couldn't afford it. So I watched them. At some point, one of the teachers would ask me to come up and help put stuff away and hold bags for the kids, and clean up and stuff like that. But the kids knew that I was a scrapper, so they knew they went to class and so forth. But they don't want to fight Jesse. Jesse's been like out in the streets for all his life, but that's coming from being beat up all the time. My first year in Hawaii, I got beat up every day. You're not of that place. You have an accent. You don't look like them, right? So every time I would walk to school or walk from school, I would get, bullied and beat up. And I was a skinny little thing. There was a lot of big Samoan and Hawaiian guys that were after me. So I had to learn how to run fast and far, because they're fast too. Like the first 30, 40 yards, they're pretty fast. But I needed to learn how to, run miles and miles away from them. That helped me, growing up, getting into sports and so forth, football, running, cross country, track, basketball. My physical abilities would get better every time I ran away. So I did martial arts here and there before, in high school and so forth, go to this school, because we didn't have enough money for me to go to school. So I would do like the week trial, free trial, and I would sit there and watch, talk to a few people that would show me how to punch. High school, they had a boxing team, so I would do some boxing or wrestling. But I think formally, when I started really getting into fighting arts were when I was in the Navy. In the Navy, right away I got introduced to going to war. There's a shield, there's a storm happen. Shortly thereafter, I remember going back to Okinawa, and it's like, man, if I really got into a scrap, I need to learn how to fight. So I would go to the local schools that's on base for Okinawan karate, Gojinu, and see that and take lessons there. See all these people with power and speed, little guys. I'm like awed by that. Throughout my military career, I went to different schools. FMA, Kung Fu, Taekwondo, Karate, Aikido, Muay Thai. I wanted to seek out and learn, because, at that point, I was still influenced by Bruce Lee. That, learn everything you can and kind of put it together and make it your own, right? So that was my philosophy for a very long time. Towards the end of my career, I slowly faded away from that, starting with the family, spending more time with the family and so forth, obligations of the United States Navy. It was harder and harder to find places and for people to train with. I basically gave everything up. So I stopped training, I didn't work out anymore because, I didn't have to. I didn't have to get up early. I went to a regular job, desk job, and, I got fat, I got, out of shape, And then where we were out of town, a couple of kids broke into our house, and they vandalized everything, and they burned my house down, where I lost everything. My uniforms, they're gone. Pictures of my family, of me getting my first medal in the United States Navy. All those were gone. So mentally, I was already relaxed. I didn't care about anything. I just wanted to retire. I just want to just do normal, everyday things. Nothing. But after that incident, kind of made me realize what I've known all the time is that you got to have a certain mindset to be ready for just about anything, because it could happen at any given moment. So it woke me up, and I was very angry. I was determined to get better. I wanted to do something. I needed to find a release. I started running marathons, training on my own again. I started shooting again. I started doing all that. It just wasn't giving me what I needed. I was still very angry. I still wanted to make someone or something pay for what happened to me or us. So I went to different schools around the area, right, to see what I could do. There was Taekwondo school, there was some kickboxing school, and it didn't do it for me. No offense to them, it's just whether I didn't click with the instructors or the program, didn't do it for me. Then I was sitting down and I was watching a video. I was searching Filipino martial arts on YouTube. And I saw all of a sudden this old man, dressed, in some Filipino outfit, and he had a sword and he was talking. I sat there and just watched. And I'm like, I know him. I know him. I've met him before. And I was just drawn to what he was saying and his attitude and his mindset. I said, I need that. So I searched and I found and where his next seminar was, and I went there, and that's where it started. That's where it started. It was, I think it was meant to be for me to find him, because that's what I needed. PEKITI TIRSIA just shows up in my face, and Grand Tuhon is right there, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. I give credit to Grand Tuhon for all these ideas that I have, right? So he wanted a place to train everyone and not just one single form of combat. He want not only PEKITI TIRSIA embedded into a program where you use guns, you use outdoor survival, you do use traditional weaponry. Back in the old ancient times, when you had soldiers going through this training camp and so forth. That's what he envisioned. For me, as a loyal follower of Grand Tuhon, I wanted to kind of create that dream, that academy that he wanted to put together, and we could work on it together and create that, where everybody was going to go to and train, and not just in PEKITI TIRSIA, but all these other stuff. So Combat Warrior Academy came about, and like, okay, Grand Tuhon, I'm doing it. I'm going to put a program together with your help and with the curriculum that you're going to give me to create this academy that would train in those areas that you're talking about. Because I was always myself looking for the complete warrior anyways, right? It's not just martial arts. It's not just guns. There's other stuff. You put it all together and you have a well-trained, highly efficient warrior. That's what I was looking for. Credit to Grand Tuhon to kind of put all those ideas together and kind of like, hey, here you go, Jesse, create this. So that's how Combat Warrior came about. And I went throughout the country hand-picking people that would be the first of many to go through, And now I have Combat Warrior Academy team that they're pretty highly skilled in the different areas. Is it one and the same? I'd say it's different, but there's definitely a lot of components of philosophies and strategies of PEKITI TIRSIA in it. The name itself is combat, counter on motion before attack time. We take that ideology and embed it into all of our programs within Combat Warrior Academy. To us, it means preparation, get ready, training. I've been in the United States, like I said, for 21 years, and politics is embedded in the United States Navy. From when I enlisted all the way till when I left. So politics, I think I'm used to it. I think I understand it, right? And martial arts is no different in my book, right? For me, for myself, the journey is to gain tools to create what I want to be in a certain amount of time, place, or whatever. So I think everybody that Grand Tuhon has trained has that same mentality. They want to take what they've learned and inherently make it somewhat their own and create a program that they best can give back to the community how they see it as interpretation of what Grand Tuhon has given them. So you get the differences, but I don't focus on the differences for the different groups. I focus on the similarities. And my opinion that a martial arts, in order to strive to move forward and to evolve, it has to change. Yes, there's certain traditions and philosophies that you inherently has to stay to it because that's what made the system successful in the very beginning. But doesn't necessarily mean that I have to stick to that single drill. Can I combine the different philosophies from the 64 to the new age of Tri-V into the new age of combat jump? Absolutely. I spent a lot of years picking the brain of Grand Tuhon, and and sometimes old school Filipino martial artists don't want to hear those certain questions, but I asked it, not in public to where he has an opportunity to get pissed off, right? When we're having coffee, and I spent a lot of hours with Grand Tuhon, so I'm spent time just sitting there asking him questions because I wanted to know. But I took notes every time he said something that's different than the last time. So I said, GT, how is 64 attacks different from the Tri-V formula? Why? What's the goal of Tri-V? What's the goal of 64 attacks? Why did you teach it that way? You know, all those different questions that I wanted to know. And I got a lot of value in that. Bottom line is that, you know, if you want to know PEKITI TIRSIA, you need to know Grant Tuhon, because he's the reason why there is PEKITI TIRSIA around the world. A lot of people want to get into bickering of, yeah, that's not PEKITI, or this is PEKITI, this is how I was taught, and what you're being taught is not PEKITI. You know, I try not to get into those conversations. I always say, yes, that is PEKITI, because I want to look at the similarities. It's okay to look at the differences, because in looking at the differences, you gain more knowledge and wisdom in order to put it together, right? But I think emotionally, if you focus on the positive, the similar things of the different groups, that's how we're going to go beyond from when the inevitable happens, is when Grant Tuhon leaves this earth. We need to learn how to be positive amongst each other, share ideas. Don't get into this mindset that my Kung Fu is better than your Kung Fu and all these challenges. I think that's counterproductive. What we need to do is to come together more, just like what we're doing now. I see a lot of these people coming together. Doesn't matter what group. You know, Tuhon Bill McGrath getting together with Tuhon Jared getting together with Doug Makita, with Ray Dionaldo, you know, all these, some PEKITI base, right? Look at the positive in that, right? Does the man or woman have skill? Great. Can he or she teach well? Can they convey the concepts? Skill is one thing, I get that. But the other portion and the responsibility of those people that have been trained, that have gone before us, is what? The leadership. The ability to transfer knowledge to a student and create wisdom for themselves. The ability to be a team player. Those are all the attributes of what a great martial artist should be. Notice I didn't say a great PEKITI TIRSIA guy, right? Let's not focus on the differences. Let's focus on the similarities and come together. If you focus on the negative all the time, that's what you're going to get, is negativity. Sometimes, though, there's some people that use that as a way not to move forward, but to gain a little publicity, a little notoriety that they're in the mix. We need to get away from that. We need to go back to the core of martial arts. Honor, tradition, respect, loyalty. That's the journey that I want to embody into my students, and not to focus on the politics of the different groups. I tell them, go and train with everybody so you can get a good perspective. Train all the different systems, not just PEKITI, because every day, you know, especially in North Shore Martial Arts Academy, I learn something from the different instructors, whether it's BJJ, kickboxing, Muay Thai, or Jeet Kune Do. But the inherent core of all of those is execution. Do you have the skill enough to take something that you just saw and execute it? I always say, if you want to know PEKITI, you got to know Grant Tuhon and how he thinks and how he delivers his knowledge and his message. So I don't really focus on the differences of the different groups. And I know Jared, you know, I've never met Tuhon Bill, and I know all the other guys, and they're all pretty cool. They're all highly skilled. I think that's good for the system. Different perspective. If you only knew it one way, I think it would be boring. When I get into something, I dive into it as deep as I can, as immersed as I can. I will spend hours and hours and days without sleeping to get deep into it. That's kind of how I approach PEKITI TIRSIA. And when I ask Grant Tuhon, sir, who do I train with? Who are your best students? So I want to go train with them. That's a hard question for Grant Tuhon, because he would have to acknowledge. Well, I wanted him to acknowledge. And then if he didn't give it to me, I'd say, well, how is he compared to Tuhon Bill? And he would get mad at me. You know, well, how's he with Tom Biggio? How is he compared to Tom Biggio? You know, you trained Tom Biggio for 3 years and then he went and won a competition in the Philippines. I want that. I want that. How do I get there? You know, who else do I train with? Go train with Tuhon Philip. Okay, Tuhon Philip, come on. He's the godfather of PEKITI TIRSIA. You know, he's the dictionary of PEKITI TIRSIA. Why would I want to train with him? All these other guys that have knowledge from Grand Tuhon, the different ways, the different interpretation of PEKITI TIRSIA. That's all valuable. Because I want to learn what they know so I can incorporate it into my tool bag. I think sometimes the conversation is that my teacher is better than your teacher. that needs to stop. Next thing you know, people are going to say, well, GT is better than Guru Dan. I'm like, why would you even say that? It's two different things. You know they're friends, right? So I had the pleasure of sitting down with Grand Tuhon and Guru Dan, one on each side, and we're talking about life and talking about their experiences. I was a little fly in the wall in the middle of these two legends. I tell you, their conversation is not, this is better than that, this is better than that, this and that. No, they talk about all their friends that they grew up with and they train with. And I'll tell you, GT just doesn't talk about PEKITI TIRSIA College.
Thank you.
The goals were to create the academy. That was my short-term goal, was to create an academy, get a good program or programs and offer to everyday common citizens. I'm not targeting police or military. They have their own thing there. I want to give the everyday common citizens the tools, if they want it, in martial arts, guns, outdoor survival, edge weapon, impact weapons, medical. So that was my short-term goals. The other short-term goal I had pre-COVID was SFO, the Stick Fighting Olympiads, which again, GT said, Jesse, create tournaments for stick fighting. Okay, within 3 months I created one. And then the medium kind of goal is to kind of ongoing, right? And it's never an end goal for me. It's always ongoing. Take something from nothing, create instructors, have them teach someone from nothing to something and create something. That's my medium goal, and that's always constantly growing. I watch these guys have been training with me for 8 years, 6 years, and I've seen them grow. And I've seen their desire go up, and I've seen their abilities to manage the different things that's going on in their life, whether it be martial arts, home life, work, all those stuff. So that really sets my soul on fire, watching them grow and teaching and so forth. When I see one of the guys that have been training with me for a long time and start teaching, and they teach it well, because that's a skill in itself. But it's not just martial arts though, it's about life. They ask me about their marriage and how they go about this and that, and I gotta be on point with that, right? Because I don't have all the answers, but I share my ideas. And it's kind of like martial arts. You don't have all the answers, you really don't, but you share your ideas in a positive manner. That's how you grow. They grow, I grow. Long term is that I want to establish myself as someone that created something to promote the art that GT loves, that he bestowed upon me to carry on, which is PEKITI TIRSIA College. In the future, that when they talk about all the PEKITI Tertians around the world, that somewhere down the bottom list there that Jesse has mentioned that he did something for PEKITI, and grew all these great instructors and practitioners in PEKITI TIRSIA, and have that mindset of openness and that mindset of positive mental attitude. That's what I want long term. And I always joke around with Grand Tuhon and said, Grand Tuhon, PEKITI TIRSIA is keeping me alive and keeping me from jail. Because I was so angry, I needed something, and PEKITI was it. And PEKITI is the one that kept me from going insane. But I got the support of family, friends, and that just keeps me going, keeps fueling me. I don't focus on the negative reviews or comments about me. Again, if you focus on the negative, you'll never grow. I focus on the positive. I see these guys practicing. I see these guys getting better. That's what I focus on. And I'm going to give them more each time. Everything that I know, everything that I learn, I will give back to them. Because what I say is shut up and train, right? And train with anyone that wants it. That's it. And give it away. It's not mine to keep. PEKITI TIRSIA, the gifts that was given to you by Grand Tuhon, it's not yours to keep. It's yours to give away. Because that's how you honor not only Grand Tuhon, but the people before him. Pass it on with respect, with loyalty to the system, with tradition, and embed the Filipino fighting system, the attributes that was given and handed down to you throughout the years. Honor, courage, commitment, and hospitality. That's kind of like the mentality I want to push to these guys. You know, I want people to remember that, hey, hospitality is a core value in the Filipinos.
That is? Okay.
No, I mean, I just want to say thank you to you, you know, taking the time, couple days to just do all this stuff for, not only for me, but for the community. And I think you kind of echo some of the philosophies we talked about as far as sharing and giving back to the community. We should do more of that, you know, and stop calling each other out on social media because it's just not productive. You know, we don't have to do that in order to promote an art. Unless you have a hidden agenda saying that, hey, I want to show people I'm better than everybody else, so I'm going to say this. You know, we need to stop that. We need to be mature about things. We need to be adult about things, right? You're not the greatest, and you haven't gotten it all. There's still more to learn. But I think the core values that we need to learn as martial artists is the honor and respect that we should have for each other, no matter what level skill the other person is. If somebody's got a good heart, then it's a good heart. It doesn't matter. If you got skill, people will know it. If you are able to teach that skill, people will know it. Who cares what's in front of your name or behind your name? I'm still promoting the tenets of PTK as Grand Tuhon giving me the authority to teach it. To be able to do that and share it freely with whoever I want, that's a great honor for me. And continue to be a student of the arts as long as I can.